Hi everyone, welcome to the first ever Math in Mind YouTube channel video on geometry. Today we're going to be looking at basic elements of geometry, the things that make up a good foundation and starting point of geometry, which we build or will build a lot up from that. So let's get started. Just a reminder, check out Google Classroom. These are some tools that you're definitely going to need. Make sure to get them. So let's start with a point. And what are we talking about when we're talking about a point? What is a point? Well, simply put, there are places all over this screen even, and in order to know which one we're talking about, we need a point which really is just a specific position, or it's a location in space. So I can put a point over here. I can put a point over here, right? These ones, of course, would be filled in solid, but I think you guys get the idea. So what about all these points? Is this one different than this one? Just because it's a little bit smaller on the screen? Well, no. Something you should know about points is they're represented by little dots like that, and sometimes you make a slightly bigger dot than a smaller dot, but really there is no measurement. I can't take a ruler, geometrically speaking anyway, and measure this and this. They both mean just a specific location that I'm talking about. So look at all these points. What if I thought of one and I wanted you to look at one? Well, you might go, which one are you talking about? I say, oh, the one over there. Over there where? So when we have a bunch of points like this and we want to talk about one, it's really difficult and very confusing. So the best thing we can do is start labeling them. We could call this one point A, this one point B, this one point C, so on and so forth. So if I said, hey everyone, look at point B, we're all immediately looking right over here at this particular location in space. Okay? And we could, of course, label the other ones. Now something you should notice is, look at how we labeled each point. We're using uppercase letters. And there's only one. So this is point A, point B, point C, and then we could just keep on going around and around. I can't call this one point A also, because that wouldn't be right. Point A is located over here. This has to be some other point. So I'd have to pick some other letter of the alphabet until we run out. Then we use some other naming aspects, which we won't get into now. Another thing we need to talk about is a line. Well, what's a line? I know if I asked you to draw a line, I'm sure a lot of you would draw that, which is not bad. However, lines should all have arrows at the end of that. The reason being is a line is a series of points that extends in two opposite directions without end forever. I'm going to go this way through the computer screen all the way to my left forever and ever, this way to the right, opposite, all the way out this way forever and ever, and that's going to be my line. Okay? I could set it up vertically. I could have a line that's going vertical like this. Same deal. Got to put the arrow points at the end to signify that's a line. It's going up that way, down that way, forever and ever. Now, what if I wanted to talk about this line? Would I say, hey, the line over there? Then we start getting into that situation again. Which one are you talking about? So we need to label it somehow. Well, just like points, we can pick, well, really everything on this line. These are a series of points. There's an infinite number of points in here, and also that would extend outwards. So we can pick any two. I'll just say this point, this particular point, and then I have a whole bunch of other options here, but I'm just going to randomly decide on this one. And we need to have some letters for them. So in a lot of situations, they'll already be given to you. Here we're not given, so I'm going to pick two letters that I want to use. I'm going to use CD for lack of a better thing to pick. So I could call this line C, D. I can name it with 2 points. If I had a third point on this line, which I do, I have many, many other points, but I'm just going to call this one E. I could also refer to this line as DE. And you would know that I'm really talking about the same line. Or I could call it line ED. Same thing. I can switch the order of the points. It doesn't matter when we're naming lines. There is another option. Sometimes you will see the line written. It would just say line, and then a lowercase letter. And typically that letter is written in script. I don't want to go through the fonts and pick out script, but typically it will be written in like some sort of a cursive or scripty type thing. Or, you know what, maybe script's not the best word. Maybe usually it's italics, like that. So then you can name the line that way. So you have two options. You could use 2 points on the line to name it, or you could name it with one single lowercase letter. So that's a line. Goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. I know. All right, I'll stop. Okay. How about a plane? Plane. Nope. Not the one we're all thinking. Geometric planes are slightly different. Plane is a flat surface that extends in all directions. The screen that you're probably watching this video on, right? I'm sure it's got an edge around the outside of it, but pretend that edge was not there. Pretend that this screen went upwards forever, and to the left forever, and down forever, and to the right forever, and diagonally forever. The whole thing just expanded forever in all the directions that it's flat on, okay? We could also have the floor that you're probably sitting or standing on. Pretend that floor. That's a different plane. It's different than the screen, the one your screen's on. That's a different plane. That one, it should be, if you're standing in a well-built home or apartment or building or whatever, it should be parallel with the ceiling above you, right? So that's another plane. And again, same situation. They extend forever, just like a line, but more, two-dimensionally speaking. So we often draw planes with some sort of a parallelogram looking, but just remember, imagine if I stretch this and pulled it that way, stretch it and pulled it that way, stretch it and pulled that way, and so on and so forth. So with naming planes, we again have some options. We can do the one-letter thing, like the line, except when we do it with a plane, we use an uppercase letter. We can't name it with just 2 points like we could on the line, because then we have a situation where we can have other planes like coming through. This is a little tough to see, but coming through the screen through those 2 points. So we need to have 3 points that define a plane. So this could be plane L-A-N. Could also be plane E-L-A or plane E-L-N. So we need 3 points to make up a plane. And they also need to be non-collinear. We'll get there very shortly. Alrighty. So we have some words here: coexist, cohabitate, coincidence. So what's in common? Well, this prefix co. And the prefix co really means things happening at the same time, or mutual, or along those lines. So that should help us out with these 2 words: collinear, collinear. Now you might be thinking it's the same exact line. I'm talking about 2 lines that really are the same line. We're on the right path, but that's not exactly what it is. Collinear means on the same line. So if I look at all these points, which ones are on the same line? Think right now to yourself. Pick out 2 points. Which ones are on the same line? I don't know. I'm just going to guess. Maybe you said A and B are on the same line. All right, yeah, those 2 points are collinear. Maybe you said D and B are on the same line. So the statement we could say is D and B are collinear. Cool. Coplanar. I'm sure you're starting to put the pieces together. Coplanar, same plane. So, all right, what we were talking about before with two planes hitting each other. Here I have a plane coming down like this, a flat surface, and I know it looks like it stops, but really it's being stretched out, and you can stretch it out forever along that flat surface. And one that's totally horizontal going on here. So if I said 2 points that are on the same plane, let's look at the green one. This is one plane, so I have to pick points that are only on the green surface. So L and I, those are coplanar. F and C, those are coplanar. Let's look at the pink one, right? Those are all on the same plane. G and E are coplanar. O and B and E are coplanar on the same plane. I think you guys get it, right? Okay. So far we've talked about a point. Remember, point's just a position in space. We use one letter, capital, to label it. A line is straight. It extends in opposite directions forever. We use two capital letter points to label a line, or we could use one lowercase, kind of scripty, cursive letter to label it. Plane, same deal, except one letter uppercase to label it, and it extends. It's a flat surface that extends in all directions forever. And collinear, same line, on the same line. Coplanar, on the same plane. All right, so if you have two lines, can they be coplanar? Well, let's think. Think of the wall right in front of you, or the closest wall to you. Can you put two lines on it? Sure, you can put two lines on it. Here, here's the screen. Screen's a plane. I'm going to put a line there. Remember, with the right endpoints, and a line here. Yep, these two lines are on the same plane. Yep, they're coplanar. All right. If you have two lines, do they have to be on the same plane? Well, look at the room around you. We have different planes, the wall in front of you and the wall to the left of you, or something thereabouts. If you put a line on one wall and a line on the other, they're on two different planes. So yeah, you can have a situation where you have two lines on different planes, so they don't have to be coplanar. And the definition that we use, or the word we use, phrase, is skewed lines. Let's keep going with this discussion, or these thought-provoking questions. Suppose you have two lines. Do they have to intersect? So if I had two lines anywhere, do they have to hit each other? Like, even if I had them on the same plane, the same piece of paper, can you draw two lines that don't intersect each other? Sure you can. You probably drew parallel lines. Perpendicular, we'll get to in a little bit. That's when two lines intersect in a special way. Okay, so parallel lines don't intersect, they say, the same distance apart. Think of the two yellow lines in the middle of a highway. All right, it's a straight stretch of highway. Those lines don't intersect. I mean, that might be a problem if they did, but they don't intersect. They run side by side forever. Those are parallel lines, okay? And the symbol we use in geometry is this parallel line symbol right here. Oh, bad color. Let's pick something different. Right here, parallel. So we read this the same way as we read this. This one says line M is parallel to line N. Well, this line right here also says line M is parallel to line N. Same thing. We're just using symbols to kind of take a shortcut so we don't have to write so much. And we're going to see a lot of symbols and a lot of shortcut of writing this year, so we need to interpret it correctly. Perpendicular lines, they meet at right angles. And you should remember from previous years that a right angle is a 90-degree angle. Corners of pieces of paper, corners of walls, other things, right angles all over the place. They're very, very important with construction and in geometry in general. So Line AB, we write out this way, we could have the line on top, is parallel to, or we could write line AB is parallel to line CD. This symbol means the same thing as this stuff in red. If we have a line and we cut it, take these scissors and we cut it, what are we going to wind up with? Well, if we make two cuts here, we're going to get a single piece that's going to come out of the middle. However, if we cut it in only one place, right there, we're going to get kind of part of the line that's going this way and the part of the line that's going the other way. That gives us a segment and a ray. Ray is a part of the line consisting of one endpoint, so it's got a starting point and then it just goes off forever in one direction. Segment, it's kind of like where we cut the line in two places. I got an endpoint here, like a piece of ribbon, and another one over here. And when we label a segment, we use two letters, whatever the endpoints happen to be. Let's call this, I don't know, F, and this one G. And we're going to call this one segment FG. And same deal with array. Looking for two letters, I don't know, I'm just picking two random letters, RS. Now with array, when you label array, you always want to start with the endpoint, and then you want to go to the other point that's not the endpoint. So this would be RS, ray, RS, and we draw it just like a little ray above. This one would be segment FG. And we put a little segment above it, so we know we're talking about segment FG. Now that we have rays, segments, lines, planes, we can start doing all sorts of things. We can draw some triangles, we can draw some rectangles, we can make all sorts of geometric figures. That's where we're going to pick up next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.